Hello, Amazing Atheist. Hi, Radical again. I felt to come on and give a response to your question about the feasibility of the afterlife. I think it's a very apt and a very good question, and I think you nailed a lot of it. So I'm going to kind of approach this from the differences because, as I stated in the previous video, response I made to your video previous to this one was the fact that I'm Mormon, and there's some really key differences between Mormon theology, Mormon views on the things, especially of this nature, as opposed to your Trinitarian and all of that. The basis of it is you've got, with traditional Christianity, you have largely a belief in creation ex nihilo, where God kind of poofed everything out of nothing into existence. There's some people that believe in an ex Deo, where everything proceeded from God. In Mormon theology, neither of those are our beliefs at all. We believe in creation ex materia, that is, that matter, the material matter or energy, has always existed. That when God created things, He was forming things, and I'll get into explaining why this lines up with your assessment of the needs, the requisites for an afterlife. And so first off, another basis with this is that makes Mormonism a bit distinct from most other theologies, at least the ones I'm aware of, is that we believe that everything is matter. We believe that there's no such thing as immaterial matter. And that being the case, we believe all spirit is matter. So you present the idea of having some backup. And that's one way you could look at our view. But actually, since we believe matter's always existed and energy's always existed, we also believe that there are components of our being that are co-eternal with God. Our own wills or intelligence, in some form or another, through all of the past, infinitely going back, we've always existed as some form of intelligence, and that as we've kind of gone through eternity, it's progressed, and we've received kind of enhanced manifestations. For example, you brought forward the idea of a not having all the senses connected with a physical brain, touch, sight, taste, and lacking those inputs. Well, we believe that that we actually had a kind of an incarnation into what we term a spiritual body, and our theology doesn't go back infinitely telling what we were at everything, but simply that we had a manifestation that was in a spiritual body. But since we believe all spirit is matter, we believe that this spiritual body had a likeness to our bodies. So, just as we look now, if we were able to see the spiritual matter, we would appear similar in our spirit format in the life previous to this, the existence previous to this. And so our bodies, the physical flesh we have, and again, spirit, we believe is a physical matter. It's just not perceptible by anything available to humans at present. But since this is just kind of an additional growth, it's kind of as if ourselves was placed into this, and so that this present state that we're in is a continuation and an augmenting of our beings. And that's kind of part of the reason, as Mormons, we believe that we came here was to gain physical bodies, and so that is where concepts such as the resurrection come in. We believe, there are some Christians that believe that Christ doesn't have his body, but so since we see Christ as receiving his body back and maintaining it. We believe that flesh, and this is a view that contradicts much of what would become Orthodox Christianity. That goes back to our beliefs that there was a falling away in the Christian faith. But we see the physical as being very much tied to the spiritual, because there is no distinction really, ultimately, because it does all matter. And so we believe that every law we're given by God, and everything we do physically and spiritually is really kind of one and the same. So the welfare of our physical bodies is in some way tied to more tied to the welfare of our spiritual bodies, I believe, than is found in most other theistic views on things, because there's oftentimes the physical and the carnal is laid forward as distinctly evil and inherently evil, and that isn't the case in Mormon theology. But again, moving on to your points about the feasibility of the afterlife, since we believe that it's a form of matter, but it's what's termed in our scriptures as being finer and purer, it's something that would act in ways that you stated in your theory, that it's not so much a backup, but it's the basis upon which our present existence was kind of laid out, the template upon which our physical bodies were formed, and in which everything's laid out. And so there were forms and likenesses of our present capacities. We didn't have the same kind of capacity to smell and touch and taste as we did, but we had capacities that had. I mean, we believe, for example, that our spiritual bodies had, noses and eyes and ears, and presumably brains and of some construct. Only since it's a finer and purer format, but that's kind of like when we die, the separation is there's actual matter although matter or energy, since the both are rather the same thing, but something of humans physically leaves when we die. And you bring up concepts such as hell and paradise, and Mormon views of the afterlife also kind of play into this, because we believe that immediately after this life we kind of remain here on earth, and that our condition is considered to be either hell or prison or paradise, based on kind of the direction, what you could call the momentum of our beings. If we have the momentum to that which is going against true principles, correct laws in nature, then we'll kind of continue in that course. And if we've been able to kind of abide the law sufficiently to be free of any entanglements, then so we'll be in the same physical area, the same sphere, but depending on what point we've reached, what intelligence we've been able to obtain, will determine whether or not it's something that's endurable and something that's actually wonderful, versus it being something that's tumultuous and something not to be ultimately desired, really. But and then there are many other concepts and caveats of Mormon afterlife that go into that. But I wanted to get on and share that just because I was fascinated by the what I perceive to be the depth of your analysis on that, of the feasibility, what is and would actually be required for that. And I felt the theology I hold to has some answers to that. So if you have any further questions, just a few minutes is kind of hard. And I switched back to this hoping that this would end up being the filter I I obviously don't mind some semblance of my face on there, and I just didn't want to make it in the thumbnails. And I like some degree of familiarity and awareness of who each other are, but I've just heard of too many weird things happening on YouTube, so I hope you understand that, and again, hope you're doing as well as you can be doing, and look forward to any response you might give.